The young man my family had once sponsored, Yi Cheng, had just been accepted into a graduate program. He posted on social media detailing his inspiring journey from a remote village all the way to the city, his face radiant and full of excitement. The post included a photo of him with my wife, Lu Ruyan, accompanied by the caption, "My benefactor, my pillar of strength, the most special person in my life." Below that, he added, "Isn't she the youngest master's supervisor at M University? Becoming her academic collaborator is definitely the best way to show my gratitude, right?" Right beneath the caption, Yi Cheng even pinned his own comment to the top, "Thank you everyone for the well wishes. I will try my best to graduate with an extra certificate of honor." I paused for a moment then continued to scroll down to his most recent post. That post was a screenshot of a thesis, specifically the acknowledgements section. Every word was dedicated to praising Lu Ruyan. "Thank you for the late nights of dedicated guidance, for your patience and unflagging encouragement." I stared at those images for a long time. I recognized the content because I had seen this very thesis on Ruyan's computer. She had once told me it was her most important academic work. I still remember that night, despite having a fever, I stayed up late helping her review every line, every minor error. I never thought that I was, at the time, helping her perfect something that belonged to someone else. In that moment, I suddenly realized that even the most seemingly stable marriage could develop unexpected cracks. When I returned home, the scene before me stunned me. A young man with neat, short hair was busy cutting fruit in the kitchen. He was wearing my slippers. When he saw me standing at the door, a flicker of annoyance crossed his eyes, as if I had just interrupted him, but it quickly vanished. "You must be Chi Boda, right? I've seen photos of you, and you look even more distinguished in person," he said as he carried the plate of fruit out of the kitchen, his manners so natural it gave one the feeling that this was his own home. Lu Ruyan was sitting on the balcony, concentrating on her laptop, completely unaware of my return. My academic exchange trip was originally not yet finished. I was supposed to return the day after tomorrow, but because I finished my work early, I decided to come back a day early. "You are Chi Boda, right? I'm Yi Cheng. I'm sure Sister Ruyan has mentioned me." He placed the fruit plate on the table, a few strands of hair falling onto his forehead, making his face look even more delicately handsome. "I'm writing my thesis lately, but the dormitory is too noisy, and I haven't been able to sleep for the past few days. Sister Ruyan was kind enough to let me stay here for a few days. Don't worry, I'll take care of the housework, you just need to focus on your work, and I'll also help Sister Ruyan get more rest." I frowned slightly. Ruyan let a student stay at home just because his dormitory was noisy? That was hard to believe. She and I have known each other since childhood. I understand her well. She is not the type to easily cross boundaries out of pity for someone. I agreed to marry her because we understood each other too well, equal, rational, and trusting. Although our marriage wasn't a passionate love story, I used to think that at least it wouldn't become a relationship full of resentment. After all, in many marriages, suitability is more important than intense love. Ruyan is intelligent, beautiful, from a good background, with no noticeable bad habits. Our two families are business partners. So, even if it wasn't a purely utilitarian arranged marriage, the union was still perfectly matched. As a life partner, truly no one could be more suitable for me than her. The relationship between Lu Ruyan and me was not just based on calculation or benefit, we genuinely had feelings for each other. Even now, my heart still aches when I recall the time she misunderstood that I was about to go on a blind date. At that time, she rushed back from an overseas academic conference, appearing right at my door. The usually calm and rational woman, Lu Ruyan, looked utterly distraught that day. Her hair was messy from the cold wind, her coat wrinkled from the hurried flight, and her eyes were tired and bloodshot as if she hadn't slept for many nights. "Boda, if one day you plan to get married, could we marry each other?" she asked. I was standing at the door at that moment, holding two large garbage bags, stunned and unable to utter a word. Lu Ruyan was inherently a rational woman, a typical scientist, not good at expressing emotions. She had never directly said that she liked me. Even when comforting others, she was adorably clumsy. When we were students, whenever I lost my top spot, she would tease me, lightly tap my forehead and say, "You're really stupid. Next time, remember to work hard and get ahead." Then she would snatch my test paper, point out every mistake, and patiently explain it again. She never thought of deliberately getting something wrong so I wouldn't feel hurt. We eventually got married, a natural progression that everyone thought was an excellent match. I clearly remember the night before I flew overseas for the academic exchange. After we had been intimate, she nestled into my neck, her voice half joking, half serious. "Boda, how about we have a child?" I softly replied, agreeing naturally. If nothing had happened, perhaps we would have lived together for the rest of our lives. But now, that future suddenly became vague. I stepped into the house, maintaining a cold expression, walking straight onto the floor without changing my shoes. "Brother Boda, I just mopped the floor this morning, aren't you going to change your shoes?" Itancheng exclaimed, covering his mouth, his voice loud enough to draw Lu Ruiyan's attention. I glanced at him coldly. Slippers are personal items. I don't like wearing something someone else has worn. Guest slippers and personal house slippers are completely different. She and I use an identical pair placed right by the door, very easy to recognize. Itancheng froze. Perhaps he thought that because he was someone my family sponsored, and Ruiyan had invited him, I would overlook the offense even if I was annoyed, but he was wrong. I don't bother maintaining such false politeness. He fumbled to take off the slippers and place them in front of me, his voice stammering. "Sorry, at my house, my brothers and I all share a pair of slippers." I didn't know there was such a rule here, and I've never seen such nice slippers, so I really didn't pay attention. At that moment, Lu Ruiyan walked in from the balcony, holding a cup of hot water. Itancheng looked at her, a barely hidden flicker of distress in his eyes as if pleading for help, but the woman he considered his pillar of strength didn't notice the signal. When she saw me, Ruiyan's usual cool gaze softened, and her voice became gentler. "You're home so early, why didn't you tell me so I could pick you up?" I threw my briefcase onto the sofa. Before I could answer, Itancheng's choked voice cut in. "Sorry, I must have made Brother Boda angry. I didn't know I shouldn't wear your slippers. How about I buy a new pair to replace them?" Lu Ruiyan glanced at him, then turned to me and spoke calmly. "This is Itancheng, the person I mentioned. He just got accepted into the graduate program, but the dormitory conditions are poor, so he's staying here temporarily for a few days." I knew my family had sponsored quite a few students in need, and Itancheng was one of them. I heard he had many siblings and was the eldest, so without help, he probably would have had to quit school to work early on. Immediately after graduating high school, Itancheng's siblings all had to drop out to start working. If it weren't for my family's help, he probably wouldn't have been able to continue his studies. I understood that very well, but what I didn't understand was why, just a month into my business trip, he had moved into my house and was even wearing my slippers. "Brother Boda, I'm just an ignorant country boy. Please don't be angry. Since we'll be living together, you just need to tell me what to do." "Country boy, living together," I almost burst out laughing. "Then why did you use my hair gel and cologne? I distinctly remember leaving them in the master bedroom. Even if you don't have such rules back home, didn't school teach you not to touch other people's belongings?" Saying this, I bent down, picked up the slippers he had worn, and tossed them straight into the trash can. There were 4 pairs of guest slippers in the shoe cabinet, yet he chose the exact matching pair that Lu Ruiyan and I shared. Ruiyan frowned, her voice sounding slightly helpless. "Forget it, they're just slippers. We can go out and buy a new pair after dinner." I refused outright. "I've been awake for 15 hours. I don't have the time or energy to go shopping just for a pair of slippers." Lu Ruiyan pursed her lips, wanting to say something but stopping herself. The atmosphere in the room was suffocatingly tense. Itancheng lowered his head and mumbled, "I'm sorry, Brother Boda. I'll mop the floor again, and I'll buy you a new pair tomorrow." I interrupted him in a cold voice. "There's a robot vacuum in the house. You don't need to pretend you're shouldering some major responsibility in front of me." With that, I walked straight into the room. Behind me, a stifled sob echoed. When I finished showering and stepped out, Itancheng was gone, only his suitcase remained by the door. Lu Ruiyan sat on the sofa, looking down, her face strangely calm. "Are you angry?" she asked softly. "What is it about?" "On our wedding day, we said we would always be frank, never hide things, and talk openly to avoid misunderstandings and suspicions. We shouldn't stay silent to test our relationship, should we? I looked at her, my voice cold. Ryan, letting a young man stay at our house, that's not something you would do, is it? She chuckled, lightly covering her mouth, her eyes softening. Are you jealous, Boda? I thought you didn't care about me anymore. Those sweet words were pleasant to hear, but not what I wanted. He's just a student sponsored by our family, she explained. His dorm had problems, and he had a conflict with his roommate, so he needed a temporary place to stay. The place my parents suggested was far, and other places weren't ready. I only let him stay for a few days. I curled my lip, giving a faint, sardonic smile. Ryan, if it weren't for my family, if it weren't for you, would those problems even exist? The reason about not liking the dorm, having trouble fitting in with roommates, doesn't sound like something a child from a poor background would say. Furthermore, he is 27, not 17. It took him 2 extra years to finish undergrad, and then 3 years to get into grad school. You may believe those words, but I don't. Just looking at his posts and comments makes his intentions clear, anyone can see it. She leaned her head on my shoulder, her voice lowered. I've been so tired lately, I haven't been able to sleep well. Without you at home, Ryan needs Boda. You have to trust me. I was silent for a moment, then nodded slightly. If 20 years of friendship and mutual understanding could be shaken by a few incidents like this, perhaps we shouldn't have gotten together in the first place. I still believe that Lu Ryan was a good person, even without passionate love, she would never do anything shameful. The next day, I drove to the research institute as usual. Lu Ryan still prepared my morning coffee, packed vitamins and fruit in a bag. Everything seemed to have returned to normal. During my lunch break, I opened my phone. The first notification that popped up was Yi Tingcheng's latest video. The title on the video read, "I must fly like a bird back to my mountain. Thank you, my goddess." The first photo was of my favorite book, the one I used to ask Lu Ryan to read to me when we were newly married. But the copy she gave Yi Tingcheng had the author's own signature. My hand trembled slightly as I continued to scroll down. Below was a screenshot of a chat between Ryan and Yi Tingcheng. Ryan, don't worry too much about trivial matters. Ryan, if you feel tired, spend time in the lab. Your energy shouldn't be wasted on mundane things like house slippers. Yi Tingcheng, then why can others waste it? Ryan, you can't control others, but I won't let you waste it. Yi Tingcheng, I'm honored to be ordered around by you like this. I scrolled through the comments, feeling the blood drain from my face. One commenter wrote, "When will I find such a dedicated supervisor?" Don't get your hopes up, most lecturers are like mine, they criticize the thesis after 3 sentences. Everything spun in my head. While I was in a daze, a colleague approached me with a folder. Boda, here is the list of students selected for the M project group. Please take a look. I nodded, signing the document unconsciously. Project M was a collaboration between our research institute and M University, where Lu Ryan taught. Their side proposed giving a few of their students a chance to participate in the project. We agreed to let them submit applications. We were expected to select about 10 people. That evening when I got home, Ryan had already cooked dinner. I slipped on the new slippers she bought and placed my phone on the table in front of her. Why did you give him a signed book, but not me? She rarely used social media or texted, so I had to show her directly how Yi Tingcheng was misinterpreting her every gesture and how others were perceiving their relationship. As she read through it, Lu Ryan's eyebrows furrowed, tightening more and more. She put down the phone, her voice serious. You misunderstood. She explained that the book was a collective gift for all the students, not just Yi Tingcheng. As for me not receiving a signed copy, it was because she thought I only cared about the book's content, not whether it was signed. As for Yi Tingcheng, she promised to deal with it herself. I looked at her and gave a slight nod. All right, I'll trust you one last time. The following days passed quietly, projects at the institute gradually stabilized. Before beginning a long period of extended work hours, I received a call from Ryan. The woman who usually preferred cooking at home surprisingly wanted to invite me out for dinner today. Looking around the empty lab, I smiled and agreed. The restaurant that day was the old spot we used to frequent since high school, the place with the best pickled vegetables in the city. Just as we sat down, a familiar figure appeared nearby. It was, of course, Yi Cheng. He was carrying a serving tray, pouring water, and taking orders for the new guests. When he saw us, or more precisely, when he saw Lu Ruyan, his eyes immediately welled up, and tears fell, dripping onto the ordering device in his hand. I gently shook my water glass, lowering my head in silence. Lu Ruyan glanced at him, unable to hide a frown. "Did Mr. Chi's family stop sponsoring you?" Yi Cheng took a deep breath, trying to remain calm, but his voice was still shaking. "I'm truly grateful to you, aunt and uncle, and sister, for helping me all this time, but from now on, I want to work and pay for my tuition myself." He glanced at me, his voice carrying a mix of arrogance and defiance. "This way, I won't have to make Brother Boda uncomfortable anymore." I looked up and stared straight into his eyes, not saying a word, my gaze icy. "You want to work and study to pay for your tuition yourself?" I looked directly at Yi Cheng, my voice cold. "With your current qualifications, you could easily find a tutoring job or work as a teaching assistant at a center. There are many other ways to earn money. Yet you chose to work as a waiter at the exact restaurant my wife and I frequently visit. I truly don't understand what game you're trying to play." Yi Cheng's face briefly changed color, looking like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He quickly explained. "It's just a coincidence. Sister Ruyan brought me here to eat once. I saw they were hiring, so I applied. I just wanted to earn a little extra money, I had no other intention." I curled my lip, giving a sneering smile. "Earn money? As a graduate student at Ming-A University, you couldn't find a better job than being a waiter? Students should have pure eyes, not such obvious calculations." Yi Cheng paused, the hand holding the tray slightly trembling, his voice choked. "Not everyone can speak confidently or act decisively like you, Boda. I'm from the mountains, I'm not good with words, and I don't know many rules. I didn't even know I shouldn't share slippers with others. I'm afraid of interacting with strangers. For me, work is work. You work in a luxurious lab, and I serve here. In the end, it's just labor. I know you look down on me, but you don't have to humiliate me in front of others like this." Lu Ruyan slightly tilted her head to look at me, her voice composed. "Don't pressure him too much." Yi Cheng stood trembling beside her, bowing deeply, his voice lowering, sounding sincere. "I apologize, Brother Boda, I was wrong. I shouldn't have flaunted Sister Ruyan's kindness everywhere, and I shouldn't have made you uncomfortable. I'm sorry, I will delete all the videos, please don't make things difficult for me anymore." I frowned. "How have I made things difficult for you?" Yi Cheng glanced at Ruyan, a look of grievance flashing in his eyes. "It's about the collaboration project at your research institute. I also submitted an application. I know you don't like me, but I truly worked very hard. Why did you take away my opportunity?" It was then that I suddenly understood. It turned out this whole scene today revolved around this matter. Recently, the selected students from Ming-A University began interning at our institute. Coincidentally, out of the 4 people who shared a dorm with Yi Cheng, the other 3 were selected. When they returned to school, they didn't stop showing off. "That lab receives the most funding in the province. Mom and Dad, aren't you proud that I'm working there? Working anywhere is still work, but getting into that golden group truly makes a difference. The food at the institute is amazing, and it's free. Adding a line about working at Dr. Chi's research lab makes my resume stand out. I heard the trainer there is Chi Boda, young and talented. He's as great as my idol, only Du Weiqian and he are the ones I admire the most." I had checked the files of all the selected students but did not see Yi Cheng's name. I immediately asked the colleague in charge to resend a copy of his file. When I opened it, I only said one thing. "Sometimes instead of blaming others, you should ask yourself why." Lu Ruyan looked at me silently, her eyes calm but profound. I knew she was angry. "Boda, don't mess with someone else's future." I stopped, then involuntarily laughed. I laughed because I realized that perhaps I had never truly understood her all these years, and I also laughed because she had never understood me. Otherwise, how could she trust a stranger yet doubt her own husband? Seeing her defend him, Yi Chengcheng burst into sobs. I know it's my fault, it's all me. I didn't mean to blame anyone. Whether I get accepted into the institute or not is entirely up to you. I cut him off, my voice cold. I don't have that much power, and even if I did, I wouldn't waste it on you. Lu Ruyan seemed unconvinced. I checked, you are the main person in charge of this project, but I know the decision is up to the whole team, so I won't interfere. It's just that you hurt him too much today. I gave a slight snort of laughter. I am being harsh because I respect you. I accepted his file even after the submission deadline, but he's a student who couldn't even pass the CT for English exam. Does he have the basic ability to read academic material in English? I said, my voice steady. Or should I show you the files of the other students? Yi Chengcheng glanced at Lu Ruyan, clearly anxious, afraid she would think everything was his fault. You know, I just couldn't get along with my roommates. They didn't even tell me about that project. By the time I found out, it was already too late. He forced a smile, as if he himself didn't believe his own words. I lightly raised my eyebrows. How ridiculous. How can you blame others for everything? As far as I know, the recruitment announcement for that project was posted all over your school. If you didn't pay attention, that's your fault, not theirs. Why should they be obligated to tell you? Yi Chengcheng tried to argue back, his voice showing a hint of determination. I have my thesis, and its quality is even better than that of the seniors. I nodded slowly. Yes, a thesis is important, but when I had to correct over 30 errors in just the first 3,000 words, do you still find that something to be proud of? Ironically, the very thesis he proudly showed off was the one I had stayed up all night helping Ruyan correct. That dinner was a complete failure, or rather, for me, it never even began. When I left the restaurant, Lu Ruyan chased after me, grabbing my arm. Honey, he's just a student. You don't have to humiliate him in front of so many people. I shook her hand off, my eyes icy. What about you? Ruyan, when you stood in front of all those people and accused me of treating your student poorly, how do you think I felt? In the 3 years we've been married, or throughout all the years we've known each other, have we ever argued over a stranger? The answer is never. So why now? She looked up, her voice still insistent. Boda, he is my student. I replied coldly. And what does that have to do with me? That evening, Lu Ruyan did not come home. On the Mingye University forum, someone posted a video recording the scene at the restaurant. Right after that was a post on Yi Chengcheng's personal account. The person admired by everyone as an inspirational role model turned out to only know how to take advantage of his mentor's family. He lived in their house, wore her husband's slippers, even used his cologne, yet still couldn't let go of his professor. It could be said that Boda was so outstanding that Yi Chengcheng wanted to cut in but couldn't even manage that. The post quickly went viral, comments exploded, and in just one night, Lu Ruyan virtually disappeared from social media, while Yi Chengcheng became the target of criticism across the whole school. Isn't that our dorm? Now I understand why he suddenly moved out. Even though the video was deleted, looking at it, it seems real. An inspirational person doing something like that? That's truly ridiculous. Who did he rely on to get so high up? He must have inspired people in other ways. Let's see how the school handles this. Everyone likes the young and talented Professor Lu Ruyan. These kind of guys really have no shame. But I heard she's 5 or 6 years older than him. That's gross. Entering someone else's house and wearing the host's slippers, imagine if he had athlete's foot, that's horrible. He really doesn't know etiquette. Before, he even bragged about using other people's stuff freely. What nerve. I even have to draft my conversations in Word before talking to a lecturer, and he dared to act like that. The comments went on and on, the whole school was talking, and I sat silently in my office, looking at the photo frame on my desk, Lu Ruyan. In the photo were the two of us, the first picture taken together. At that time, we had just finished the first monthly exam in high school and both ranked first in the class. The teacher wanted to take a souvenir photo, and she muttered softly before the camera clicked. Finally, someone is capable of competing with me, Lu Ruyan said, a playful glint in her eyes. Now you have the qualification to stand on equal footing with me. I rolled my eyes in response. Next time we take a picture, I'll take it alone. You go rest somewhere. In your dreams, she immediately retorted, her voice sharp but cheerful. From then on, we became each other's rival and sole standard throughout high school. Ryan, what was wrong with your last sentence? Me, if I don't say it, how will they translate the English? Ryan, call me Jia, older sister. Me, I just said, get lost. Ryan, are you planning to apply to Capital University or Jianghua University? What about you? Me, I choose Capital. Ryan, then I will also apply to Capital. After receiving our scores, I went to the US for university, and she went to the UK. We met up once a year, and each time we had fierce arguments, but ultimately, we couldn't do without each other. And just as everyone expected, we became a powerful and unshakable couple. Suddenly my phone vibrated violently. It was Lu Ruyan. The moment I pressed the answer button, I heard her sobbing uncontrollably over the line. Boda, how could you ruin a student's future like that? He's just a student, why did you have to do that? He didn't do those things. Confronted with her baseless accusations once again, I felt a strange sense of calm, but my chest tightened as if something was being squeezed. What happened? I tried to keep my voice steady. Don't pretend anymore, she choked out. Now I'm starting to think, perhaps I chose the wrong person 3 years ago. A dry crash echoed, the photo frame on my desk fell, shattered. Perhaps it wasn't just the frame. For a person who rarely messaged, this time Lu Ruyan even opened a social media account, appearing in a video, looking as composed and aloof as ever. Yitingcheng and I have known each other for quite some time. I welcome all students, including him, to apply for my graduate program. He has visited my home and frequently visits my parents. The reasons require no further discussion because it is merely a normal relationship. The incident with the wrong slippers is because he was never taught these rules, just like not knowing how to use separate ladles when eating sukiyaki hot pot or not knowing to stand on the right side of an escalator. As for academic performance and capabilities, everyone has their own developmental trajectory. I believe that my student will blossom one day. In just over 3 minutes, Lu Ruyan had completely reversed the situation. In just one night, everything changed. I can't believe they would bully a student like that. Besides the wife, who else could do such a despicable thing? He admitted that Professor Lu Ruyan helped him, viewed her as his savior, so bringing some local specialties or cooking a meal is normal, especially where he comes from. And what about the slippers? Who else would know besides the people in the house? Clearly, the wife leaked the info. I heard Boda works at a top research institute and was born into a wealthy family. He even stole that student's spot in the collaboration project. Typical rich people bullying the poor. If changing majors means we're banned from relevant internships, what are we, the ones who changed majors, paying tuition for? This case needs to be investigated, they can't be silenced forever. In just half a day, all my personal information was dug up online. Someone filed a complaint with my workplace, questioning my degrees and thesis. Even my mother's company was called for an inspection by the tax bureau after receiving numerous anonymous reports using real names. From that day on, Lu Ruyan did not return home. Lu Ruyan moved to live in the university's faculty apartment complex. That action was no different than adding fuel to the raging fire of rumors online. That night, she sent me one final message. That book was never meant for you, you are completely different from the main character in it. Yitingcheng is more like him. My nose stung. Thinking back to every time I tried my best to please her, suddenly everything felt meaningless. Lu Ruyan was truly too cruel to me. Meanwhile, Yitingcheng's followers doubled. He continued to play the role of the inspiring figure, hailed by the community as a symbol of aspiration. He even started receiving advertisements, and in many video clips, Lu Ruyan faintly appeared, sometimes in the lab, sometimes in her office, or at academic conferences. His latest post was about his thesis outline, bragging that Lu Ruyan had given him over 100 detailed revision suggestions. I felt truly stupid. Although most comments were complimentary, one person dared to leave a doubtful line. If Professor Lu helps all students so diligently, it's fine, but if she only helps this one blogger, where is the fairness? That comment quickly climbed to the top and was immediately deleted. But soon after, screenshots of it were everywhere. It seemed Yi Chengcheng realized something was wrong, so he quickly adjusted his privacy settings. The post could only be viewed by a few people. When my mother called, I had packed all of Lu Ruiyan's belongings, preparing to return them to the Lu family. "Have you checked the stock price?" my mother asked. Her voice was hoarse. She didn't say anything more, but I understood immediately. Because of my scandal, my mother's company stock price kept falling. People around started gossiping. If a mother had a son like that, how good could she herself be? They rumored that a thorough investigation would surely reveal countless problems in her company. On the other end of the line, the woman who had always been there for me was still quietly cleaning up the aftermath for her son. "Boda, if you truly did those things, then the fault is mine for not raising you properly. If not, then handle it yourself. I will still stand behind you. But remember, your money and the money your uncles invested together are real money, not worth losing over a few baseless rumors." I took a deep breath, my heart aching with grievance. "Mom, I won't say anything more. Don't you trust me?" She replied softly. "My son whom I raised until today, of course, I understand, right? Handle it when you are ready." Yi Chengcheng's part was simple, just trace the IP address of the internal source that posted the article. As expected, only 3 people were at home that day, me, Lu Ruiyan, and Yi Chengcheng. If I didn't disclose the information, who else? The IP verification results showed that all of them matched Yi Chengcheng's address. I immediately contacted a lawyer, preparing to gather evidence to sue Yi Chengcheng for defamation, and simultaneously filed for divorce from Lu Ruiyan. The most upsetting thing for me was this marriage. Perhaps because I had put too much hope and effort into it. Reaching this point, all that remained was a feeling of both pain and emptiness. But I still believed that this pain would also pass. That day was Lu Ruiyan's mother's birthday, a grand party in the city's high society. Yi Chengcheng walked into the Lu family hall, wearing a luxurious suit that anyone could tell was expensive. Even his lapel pin was identical to Lu Ruiyan's. He smiled radiantly, going around initiating conversations, speaking confidently. "The Lu family and Professor Lu Ruiyan are like family to me. They are my rock, the place I am most connected to in this city." When he walked past me, he pretended to just notice me. "Ah, Boda, Sister Ruiyan has already apologized for you. She gave me this suit. We had to adjust it a few times to fit me. If I were you, I'd hurry up and apologize. Sister Ruiyan is very easygoing." The triumphant look in his eyes was almost spilling out. I calmly looked straight at him and asked lightly, "Are you happy?" He froze, forcing a smile. "What did you say?" The smile on my lips didn't change, but my eyes were completely cold. "What are you trying to do?" I was just asking idly. "Why are you so scared?" I said, my voice soft yet cold. Yi Chengcheng stood paralyzed. Perhaps he himself didn't understand why, between the two of us, he was the one trembling, like a natural reflex before a stronger opponent. From the start of the party, Lu Ruiyan's mother showed no signs of joy. Before dinner began, I had told her directly that I wanted a divorce. I waited until after her birthday to speak so as not to affect the business relationship between the two families. I made it clear that if this divorce could proceed smoothly, it would be best. Otherwise, I hoped she could persuade Ruiyan for me. Going to court would not benefit any of the 3 parties, me, her, and the companies of both families. Madame Lu tried to dissuade me throughout the evening, but I remained firm. I said, "You see, the way things have played out today, if the person in my position were your son, would you support the divorce?" She was silent for a long time, then let out a heavy sigh. "I watched you two grow up from childhood, Boda. Perhaps Ruiyan truly owes you an apology." By the time Yi Chengcheng walked past for the 3rd time, carrying a tray of champagne, he held his head high, walking slowly past me, his gait full of self-satisfaction. My best friend, Ma Kai, who had known me since I was in diapers, finally couldn't hold back and spoke with a sharp sarcasm. "Is this the famous guy who wants to turn the Lu family house into his private nest and treat Lu Ruiyan's mother like his own grandmother?" Ma Kai was the type of person who exuded expensive cologne while speaking words sharp as a knife. It seems Lu Ruyan just had the flu and a fever. Maybe the fever was so high it burned out her brain circuits. Nearsightedness is understandable, but she's not blind. Look at him. My brother Boda is certainly handsome, isn't he? His eyes are both intact, and they shine brighter than the chandelier. I lowered my head and said quietly, I'm going to file for divorce. Do it. Makai replied instantly, without hesitation, exactly how he used to cheer me on for all-nighters at the internet cafe back in school. When it came to relationships, he always had a single philosophy: if there's a problem, break up. You were captivated by her face, so I get it, Makai continued. But the person her family sponsored, that smooth, well-dressed guy, I fear even a master couldn't keep him in check. Don't let his bad energy rub off on you. I chuckled, glancing at Lu Ruyan standing in the corner of the room. She still maintained a cold expression, her lips tightly pressed, her eyes looking at no one. She was waiting for me to concede, but that would never happen again. Where was she standing? Who was she talking to? Leaning against the dessert table or on the stairs? How well did her dress match her jewelry now? None of it had anything to do with me anymore. Before the party ended, Makai and I left. I left the divorce papers in Lu Ruyan's room along with all the belongings she had kept at my house. That house was an asset I bought before marriage, near the research institute where I worked. After the wedding, we moved in together. Now the real estate prices were peaking, selling it would benefit both sides. When Lu Ruyan stepped out of the bathroom, I was no longer there. She hurriedly rushed out, without saying goodbye to her mother. Yi Cheng saw this and ran after her. His once neat suit was now wrinkled. He nearly stumbled, his eyes red as he watched the black car gradually disappear. His face was filled with resentment. Lu Ruyan angrily honked her car horn loudly, driving while calling me, but all she saw was the message: this number has been blocked. This time, she had only intended to teach me a lesson. She thought all this trouble was caused by me and she just wanted to make me yield. But she never expected that I would truly end everything, leaving no opportunity to talk, completely different from our initial agreement. What was even more surprising was that when Lu Ruyan returned to our house, there were already real estate agents showing clients around. Since when were you allowed inside my house? She yelled. The agent looked up, staring at her wide-eyed. What's wrong with you? Ma'am, Mr. Chi Boda has authorized me to sell this unit. This is his house, not yours. Lu Ruyan's whole body trembled, her face pale. For the first time in her life, she completely lost her inherent composure. Get out of my house, this is my house. None of you are allowed to step inside. Lu Ruyan screamed, her voice breaking with anger. But after chasing everyone out, she realized this place was no longer her home at all. Everything had been cleared out, even the scribbled drawings on the walls of my and her office. They had been repainted, leaving no trace. 3 years of living with me, over 1,000 days and nights, now felt like a shattered dream. Lu Ruyan tightly gripped the stack of divorce papers. The words from our final phone call echoed in her mind. She sat alone on the window ledge of the office, looking out at the gray sky. At that time, I spoke to her in a calm voice, silent as an autumn lake. Perhaps I had already thought of divorce then. It wasn't because she let Yi Cheng post continuously for a month as a form of punishing me. Nor was it because she let him wear the suit that should have belonged to me at the party that day. Before long, I received a call from the real estate agent reporting that a potential buyer was willing to pay 20% above the market price on the condition of meeting me directly. The person's surname was Lu. I didn't need to guess who it was. When we met again, Lu Ruyan looked like she hadn't slept in days. This was the second time I had seen her so haggard. She sat opposite me, hurriedly placing the divorce papers on the table, her voice filled with panic. Boda, what is the meaning of this? I replied casually. The meaning is clearly written there. Do you really want this? Isn't this what you wanted? Lu Ruyan froze for a few seconds, then suddenly tore the stack of papers in front of me. I won't agree. I never thought of divorcing you. But I have, I said, my voice steady and cold. She stared at me blankly, her eyes hazy. Why? There weren't any serious conflicts between us. I curled my lip into a faint smile. Do you really think I need to use such petty tricks to deal with someone like Yi Tingcheng? She lowered her head slightly and whispered. I didn't think it through. I just wanted to help him regain his dignity. He has suffered too much and couldn't handle the public pressure. Can't you sympathize with him a little? I let out a cold laugh. Lu Ruyan, have you ever considered how I feel? Do you think the path I took to get here was easy? My mother had to build her career single-handedly for half her life, struggling every step of the way to reach where she is today. And you, just because of a few posts by Yi Tingcheng and that edited correction video of yours, almost ruined everything. I tried to hold back, afraid I would cry in front of her. Ruyan reached out to touch me, but I pulled back. Her fingers only met empty space. Boda, I deleted the video immediately afterward. I didn't mean to hurt you. I truly love you. I looked straight into her eyes, speaking word by word. You pushed me into the mouth of public opinion and then said, I was just accidental. I deleted the video and thought that was it. Is that how you love me? I paused for a moment, then gave a bitter smile. No, perhaps I asked the wrong question. I shouldn't ask if you love me, but ask myself why I allowed you to hurt me like this. Lu Ruyan slumped into the chair, covering her face with her hands, her body shaking. I took another set of divorce papers from my bag and placed them in front of her. Assets and shares have been properly handled by my lawyer. Your parents have also looked them over. If you want, you can tear this up again. I have a whole stack more in my bag. She stared dumbfounded at the pile of papers in my hand, shaking her head repeatedly, her voice broken. Boda, I was wrong, truly wrong. I've already transferred Yi Tingcheng to another supervisor. I can quit my job at the university. Please, give me another chance, give us another chance. I looked at her, my gaze sinking. Ruyan, you know clearly in your heart, I warned you more than once. I have no other choice. The moment you took his side, everything was decided. At that point, I didn't have a second to hesitate anymore. I pushed the paper towards her. Sign it. Going to court won't benefit anyone. The Lu family also won't allow this divorce to make headlines. After completing the procedures at the Civil Affairs Bureau, I walked out, got into Makai's car, and left without looking back. Lu Ruyan returned to the university. Somehow, Yi Tingcheng managed to take a picture of her holding the divorce certificate and posted it online. Now he could openly say that he liked her, and the past was officially closed. Under Yi Tingcheng's post, the comments began to become chaotic and tense. Something is wrong. I don't feel good about this. It feels strange. Makai glanced at his latest video, not even bothering to curse, just snorting. The blurring effect on that video is meaningless. He just implied your name and said it outright. I lowered my head, took out my phone, and dialed a number. Lawyer, proceed with the lawsuit. Send the claim for full compensation for damages and a public apology to the media, according to the figures you calculated. In less than an hour, the comments under the video completely reversed. I can't even comment anymore. Stop suggesting these kinds of bloggers to me. Every video gets 1 million views, and I'm sick of it. Oh my God, claiming to be inspirational but ruining someone else's marriage? Why hasn't this account been suspended for violating public morality? The professor is no better, she deliberately clarified things only to disgrace herself. Last time we investigated Chi Boda and his company, now investigate these two, no one should escape. The day Yi Tingcheng posted his apology video, the flowers along the highway were blooming brightly, spring had finally returned to the city. In the clip, he cried while speaking, recounting his impoverished childhood, then sobbed that the compensation requested by the lawyer was too large, driving him to a dead end. But this time, no one showed any sympathy. So, if someone is poor, others have to suffer for it? If you knew the consequences, why did you dare to do it? What's the use of crying now? Finally, everyone sobered up, he got what he deserved. Pay the money. Will they really make him pay it all? Ma Kai drove leisurely, chewing gum and smiling softly. I guess in a few days your company's PR department will step in. They'll release a piece like, we learned this valuable lesson, showing a repentant attitude. Then your family's stock price will bounce back. It's a clever move. A few days later, I unexpectedly ran into Yi Tingcheng at the entrance of the lab. His eyes were icy, filled with hatred. "Chi Boda, I've known you for 10 years, he said, forcing a bitter, venomous laugh. "I truly hate this place." That summer, it was suffocatingly hot. My father and I were carrying boxes of eggs. We were both wearing torn, sole-punctured shoes. They were the best shoes I had. We stood outside the Lu family gate all afternoon, and that was the first time I saw Lu Ruyan. I hoped she would say a few words to me, but she only looked at you, only you. I took a step back, keeping my voice nonchalant. "Sorry, I don't remember. Perhaps I've forgotten about it." "Forgot," he laughed sourly. "Did you really forget? For me, that was the most important summer of my life, but for you, it was just a trivial memory." I looked at my watch, cutting him off. "I'm busy." Yi Tingcheng suddenly lost control, grabbing my collar, his voice strained. "It was just a pair of slippers. You intentionally humiliated me, made me lose face in front of everyone. What do you have that's better than me? You're just a pampered heir born with a silver spoon. If you were me, poor to the point of not having money for school, wouldn't you also do everything you could to climb up? Why do you have the right to ruin my life?" My colleagues began to gather near the gate, their curious eyes directed towards us. I looked straight at him, my voice cold, each word cutting like a knife. "If it was just a pair of slippers, you should ask yourself, you really just wanted to test Lu Ruyan's limits, didn't you? Staying in my house, wearing my slippers, using my belongings, doing things only a husband should do, and you call that just a pair of slippers?" I paused, my gaze sharp. "Don't blame fate, you reap what you sow." Yi Tingcheng suddenly burst into laughter, tears streaming down his distorted face. "So what? Now you have nothing left either. A divorced man, lonely and a failure. What's the point of money? You're still just a vicious and pathetic man, so much so that only an older woman would agree to marry you, and even then, it was to raise someone else's child for them." I slightly curled my lip, swirled the coffee cup in my hand, and tossed the contents straight into his face. "You're nearly 28 years old, right?" I said, my voice composed. "In another 2 years, your master's degree might not even be completed. When I was your age, I was already in the nation's leading research group." "I am 30 years old this year," I said, my voice low and calm. "Being wealthy has never been the most remarkable thing about me. If my life can still fall apart, what will yours be like? Can you imagine?" Since that day, I only heard about Lu Ruyan through others. She resigned from the university, and notably, no one in the leadership tried to keep her. As for me, I continued working, focusing on my unfinished projects. None of that concerned me anymore. Regarding Yi Tingcheng, the next time I heard his name was the news of his arrest for intentional grievous bodily harm. That day, during class, a rural woman suddenly burst into the classroom, claiming to be Yi Tingcheng's fiancée. It turned out that for all these years, Yi Tingcheng's parents had promised him to the girl after graduation. The girl worked in the countryside, regularly sending money to support Yi Tingcheng's family so he could continue his studies. But a few days earlier, she accidentally saw his video online, the extravagant, confident images next to Lu Ruyan. Panicked, she bought a train ticket to the city to find him, crying, "You lied to me. You have to go home and marry me, you can't study anymore." No one expected that in a fit of agitation, Yi Tingcheng would pull a small knife from his bag and stab her repeatedly. Time passed. I completed all my research work and resigned from the institute, deciding to pursue further studies. 3 years later, I became the youngest doctoral supervisor at Ming'e University. A day before my birthday, while walking towards the parking lot, I spotted a familiar figure under the streetlights. I had seen that silhouette countless times in my old dreams. I deliberately ignored her, walking faster toward my car, but Lu Ruyan finally stepped out and blocked my way. "Boda, have you been well these past few years?" I politely stepped back a few paces, offering a social smile. "Quite all right." Lu Ruyan's eyes suddenly welled up. "I haven't, not at all. Without you, I truly can't live." I slightly frowned, and she seemed to mistake it for me softening. "Boda, how about we start over? I know I was wrong. You haven't remarried these past years, right? That's because you haven't met anyone better suited than me. A feeling of annoyance mixed with weariness flashed within me. So, even after all these years, Lu Ruyan hadn't changed at all. Not married? I replied slowly. It's because I don't want to, not because I'm waiting for you. Do you truly not regret it? Not even a little, she asked, her voice choked, her finger lightly touching her pinky, where her wedding ring used to be. I sighed softly. That marriage was just a small mistake in my life. I fixed it, and it won't affect my future anymore. But your appearance today is truly impolite. I looked straight into her eyes, my voice composed but definitive. You're intelligent. I think I've made myself clear. The rearview mirror of the car reflected Lu Ruyan's figure standing silently under the dim light. She no longer had the arrogant, elegant look of the past. More importantly, she no longer made my heart waver. That evening, I received a call from her younger brother. Boda, Sister Ruyan just had a car accident and is in the emergency room. The doctor says her condition is serious. Do you want to? I cut him off. Sorry, I'm in a meeting. I can't talk right now. I'll call back when I'm done. On the other end of the line, Lu Ruyan lay on the hospital bed, her eyes fixed on the phone, watching her brother hang up. She knew clearly that even after my meeting was over, I would not call back. The 4 seasons can cycle, but people cannot turn back time. From now on, the path remains the path, and I am only myself.